Well, good evening and welcome to another special edition. I know I say special editions. They're all special editions of the Joe Sixpack podcast. And I think I just lost my camera. Uh-oh. There it is. It's back. The techie that I am. The USB port fell out. Anyway, we're back to the Joe Sixpack Racing podcast. We were on last night. And I want to thank Anthony Thurber for jumping in last night and spending some time before he had to go do some race control on Facebook. And just want to let you know that Joe Sixpack Racing is back. We're having the Happy Hour Truck Series. Currently doing recruiting. Tomorrow night will be our second recruiting race. That'll be Thursday, August 4th, not tomorrow, a couple days. August 4th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And for more information, you can look us up on Facebook at the Joe Sixpack Racing Facebook group. And if you're new to the podcast, the Joe Sixpack podcast is live on Twitch. It'll remain there for about 2 weeks. It will live in infamy on YouTube, and we'll upload the audio later tonight or tomorrow onto Anchor FM, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and about 24 other audio podcast platforms for your listening pleasure. Tonight, we got a special guest who was courteous enough to reach out when I cast the net looking for guests for this year. We have Ellis Thomas from the Slingshot Racing League. He's going to talk about his 87 series with some really cool trophies that they have, and also their upcoming Next Gen series, which is starting. Ellis, how you doing?
Good. What about you, Greg?
I am doing fine. I'm down in my man cave. I've got craft beer, and it's air conditioned. And the wife is upstairs and doing her thing, so can't complain about that, especially when we're talking racing.
It's the opposite for me. I'm upstairs and my wife is downstairs.
Okay.
But no beer for me because I got to go teach at school tomorrow. So.
Oh, you're back in school already?
Yeah, kids are coming back on Friday, but we started going back.
So you
kind of getting prepped for them this week.
Got it.
We go back early in the South.
Yeah, I was just going to say
with agriculture, as you probably know.
Yep.
Work patterns and stuff way back when.
So that's what it is. Well, I always thought, because I've got a bunch of relatives, my mother's side of the family down in Jackson, South Carolina, which is near Augusta, Georgia, and about 2 hours from Atlanta. And I always thought they got out early in the spring because it was so hot. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense because they're going back in the middle of August when it's hot.
When it's even hotter, right?
Yep. Oh, so you're in Atlanta now, according to your bio, right?
In Atlanta. Born in Alabama, grew up in Alabama.
Got it. Okay.
Lived in Florida for a while too.
Yeah. How do you handle the heat down there? So you grew up down there, so you're kind of used to it.
Yeah, but man, I feel like it's hotter here than I ever remember it being as a kid. I think everyone I talk to, I think it's pretty anecdotal, but the weather definitely, I feel like there are less seasons now.
Oh yeah.
At least where we are in the South. I don't know how it is up north, but it feels like the seasons are shorter, more compressed, and it just definitely feels hotter. Like when I lived in Florida, you would walk out the door and you'd immediately be sweating.
Oh yeah.
It's a little bit better here in Atlanta, but it's still during the summer. I think I stayed indoors more this summer than I have in any other summer, just because it is so hot. I felt like when I walked out, it just got drained.
Oh yeah,
so we avoid it. That's my advice.
We used to spend a couple weeks every summer down there, and you look outside, it's like, oh, it's a nice breeze. Let's go out and play Frisbee. And again, you walk out and you just get hit with that humidity. Plus, it didn't help. There was a paper pulp mill about 5 miles away, and the aroma from that was kind of like an outhouse at a campground that was a little too full. So it was a little bit rough. But the seasons,
nothing like a paper mill.
Oh yeah,
I live near one in Florida.
Oh, so you know the stench.
You know the stench.
Yeah. So the weather up here, seasons haven't changed that much, but the only thing is, April used to be a really good gardening month. April is now like March, and October is now like September. So it's like everything was just pushed back. Winters are still brutally cold. We're on our 16th day above 90 for the summer, and we normally get about 10 days. But everybody around here is like, it's summer. Got to deal with it, as best you can. I used to spend a lot of time, a couple weeks after Christmas, down in Atlanta. We would go down a couple days after New Year's. We'd fly down, a bunch of us from our garden company, like 10 or 12 of us, to the gift mart down there in Atlanta, which is pretty close to what's it, Olympic Park, right in downtown area.
Olympic Centennial Park, not too far.
Yes,
down the street from there.
Yep. And we usually would stay out in Buckhead and then take the train in, because all the hotels were pretty well booked in that area, and there just wasn't much to do after the sun went down in downtown Atlanta some nights. So tell me about...
The Mart is definitely still around, though.
What's that?
The Mart is still around.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Last time I was there was the year I retired, about 6 years ago. Nice. And yeah, so we had some good times down there. So you first got into racing, you said in 2001. And you said, tell me about the video games that you were playing there, NASCAR Heat and stuff.
I think the first NASCAR race I watched was in 2001. And I think immediately after I watched my first race, I started playing the games on the consoles. PlayStation, I think the first console I had was a PlayStation. NASCAR 2001, NASCAR Heat.
Oh, wow.
All those classic games that people probably, my age, a little bit older, probably remember.
Yep.
And I think I quickly advanced to a PC playing. Man, do you remember NASCAR 2? Do you remember the original NASCAR by Papyrus?
Oh, yes. I know the name, but I don't remember the game. I do know the name.
It's by the same people who made the first IndyCar game, the Indy 500 game.
Got it.
It's actually by the same people who make iRacing. Papyrus is pretty much the team behind iRacing now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know how much of the physics carry over from NASCAR 1 or 2 in iRacing, but I do know, I'm pretty sure NASCAR 4 has some physics that carry over in NASCAR Racing 2003. Carry over. Some of that carries over into iRacing, but I remember racing with a joystick. I remember when I started getting into it, the only sort of controller my dad had was a joystick. So I'm playing a racing game with a joystick.
Oh,
the trigger as the gas, and another button, I can't remember what button it was, as the brake, and then kind of steering with the joystick. It was an interesting experience.
Oh, yes. There was one guy that we used to race with on iRacing, just doing like the free races, pickup cup and stuff like that. He claimed he was racing on a laptop and he was just using the finger pad to steer and stuff like that. I had a hard time believing it, because he won quite a bit until he actually put a video up and you could see him doing it. I'm like, this guy is amazing.
I don't even know how you would keep it steady.
I don't know. He did.
From my own experience of probably playing around driving with a keyboard, in those early days, I don't even know how you would pull that off. Even now with like a controller with a kind of an analog stick or whatever, I feel like when someone's playing with a controller. Yeah, for sure.
This guy was good, and he actually put a video up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, don't ever give this guy a wheel and get him in any of my leagues, because I'll never have a chance.
He's going to be one of those alien guys.
Yeah, probably. So you were lucky enough when, I guess, let's say, so you were probably about 10 or 12 years old when you started, right?
Yep, that's about right.
Okay. Well, when I was 10 or 12 years old, that was in 1972, and for us to play racing games, we did it with Hot Wheels, Johnny Lightning, and Matchbox cars.
I was about to say, you were working old school with the Matchbox cars on the floor.
Oh yeah, yep.
And I tell you what, I used to do the same thing. I used to have race cars, action figures.
Uh-huh.
I think it was. I feel like when I was probably 10, 12, we were kind of right in that middle point, right? Where we'd hit the digital, we'd hit video games.
Yes.
Hit the internet. But handheld toys were still
the thing.
And they're still a thing now, but I don't, I think every kid you look at has got a device, and that's not their fault. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I think there are a lot of pros around that.
Oh, there are.
I think I was in the middle.
Yeah. So you saw the transition, and I was in the transition when vinyl was just at its peak, and this thing called CDs were coming around in like 83. And I was writing an article for our school newspaper about it, and everybody said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "It's this little disc. It's like, it's going to be replacing records." Like, "Oh, no, it's not." So, and that's what happened.
My parents and I were talking about CDs the other day, and just what exactly you're talking about when they were new, how much a disc changer. I think we were talking about CDs. Maybe we're talking about cassettes now. But the original CD deck with the changer where you could change from one disc or one.
Yeah.
Maybe now I'm thinking it might be cassette. But either way, they used to be really expensive.
Oh, yeah.
It was just, my mind was blown how expensive some of those decks actually cost.
It's like the first cell phone, which came in like a small briefcase. They were actually in a bag. And I think they actually had the old handset, like from a wired set that you would find inside. It was kind of weird. Yeah.
You remember the phone car? Do you what happened to one of those?
Yep.
Did you have a phone car or a car phone in your car?
Nope, never had one of the old time like that. I waited till cell phones were only $300 a month to have when I bought my first one. And it was, what the heck was it? It was a piece of crap Motorola that did nothing, and service was terrible. And it was from a company called Cellular One in 1995. That was my first one.
Those I think they eventually changed into what, Singular?
Yep.
Became AT&T, I think.
Yep, morphed into that. It crazy stuff. So
go ahead.
Yeah, your 87s league. How did that start? And who designed that really cool logo that I have up there? It says the Slingshot Racing League with the slingshot inside like a circle with a checkered flag. Tell me how that originated and where's that going now?
Okay, so kind of a backstory. My league co-founder, Chris Smith, who's not here tonight.
Yep.
He's also a teacher, and he's got, I think, a school event going on tonight, so he couldn't be here. But he's been my best friend for a long time, probably going back all the way to 2001.
Oh, cool!
And we started playing those games together. So the other guy on the Player 2 controller was Chris. He also had a joystick, so we started playing, NASCAR 3, NASCAR 4.
Yep.
And eventually, we started iRacing, I think, pretty shortly after it came out. I think in 2009, 2010. I think he was on there first. And he got me on it. And, we've been pretty casual racers on iRacing. We would hop on, on a Friday or Saturday night and run like an open fixed Talladega hosted race or something like that. Depending on what was open. Ran a lot of those 20 lap, got a pit Talladega races. You've probably seen those.
Oh, the guy that runs them and they're on like every hour.
Quals races.
Yes.
Yep. Host on that. But we ran a lot of those, and then I think I sold my rig. We moved into a very small condo in Atlanta, and they just did not have room for a rig. And we ended up moving back into a house. And I started getting back into it, building up the rig, bought some pretty nice equipment, invested in that. And eventually I was just like, hey man, we've been doing these hosted races for a while. What about getting into a league? So we found a league and we started running with, USRA, founded by Jeff Pogo.
I know
they do a great job. We ran for them for 2 seasons, and eventually I just kind of got the itch to do something, on our own. I'm a creative person. Teaching is an outlet for that, but this has actually been a pretty big outlet too. So we decided we were going to run our own league, and we had some interest in the 87s. Him and I had kind of bought the car, but we had never really run it a lot.
Yep.
And I said, hey, what do you think about these? This could be fun. We're teachers. We've got the summer off. Yep. So let's do a 6-race short season, just as kind of like a pilot, kind of like a test to get into this and see what, league management and ownership is all about.
Yep.
And we just kind of started drafting up schedules. We talked about what kind of racetracks we wanted to go to. Obviously, you got started off at Daytona, but then we kind of got creative and maybe a little crazy and went to, Bristol, North Wilkesboro, Nashville. We finished the season at Nashville Fairgrounds. And, some of those races went a lot better than I thought they would. Some races didn't. But, it's been kind of a learning experience and just getting this thing off the ground.
Oh, it's
what it takes to recruit members. Like, even for our upcoming season, I think maybe I took for granted, recruiting isn't easy.
No,
you
it's
can have
not.
a great season, but that doesn't mean people are going to necessarily want to come back and race a different car. Maybe they want to race the 87s again. And I think that's something we're learning and we'll probably take into consideration, as we move down the road. But recruiting is fun. I like meeting new people and reaching out to people, but it's definitely time consuming.
Oh, it's huge. I was with,
as
Joe Six Pack Racing until this March was 2 leagues. We were about to start a third one, and then the Cup Series split went their own way. There was some internal stuff going on, partially my fault and some other guys' faults. Won't get too deep into that, but if anybody out there is listening, they know the whole story. It's a constant recruiting. It's not only recruiting new members for the next season, you've got to keep recruiting your current members to keep them fresh and interested for the current season. And I was running the 3 leagues, and which is nice because I don't have to work during the winter in the garden business. I was probably spending 30 to 35 hours a week just on league stuff, doing this podcast. I did a separate podcast just for the league, going over the results from last week, what's going on this week, talking about penalties and why, and stuff like that. And then you have the admin meetings once a week, and that was from 6 to 7 and sometimes 7 to 8. And there was a guy in Long Island, one in Vermont, and the other admin was in Ireland. So we couldn't have it too early because he was still working. We couldn't have it too late because we'd be, midnight his time. And we'd have a hot discussion after. I says, guys, I got to go in the other room and jump on a podcast. So I know the routine. It's very difficult to start a league, and it's difficult to keep it going. And talking to a bunch of people that run leagues, first season's okay, second season's better, third season is make it or break it, and found that to be the truth the hard way. So it's constant promotion. I do it on Twitch, all the Facebook iRacing groups, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So yeah, it's hard. So how did you find it difficult at first to get people, and how many did you start with in your league, and how many drivers did you end with on average?
So it's interesting. The recruitment process, I think, as a new league with no track record or anything, I think in my mind I had to make it pretty open to everyone. We didn't want to have a cap on iRating. We didn't want to have a minimum iRating. We wanted to, as long as you had a steering wheel, as long as you had iRacing, we wanted you. Now, in the long run, I think that was a good strategy. I don't think that after, some races ended, everyone was happy about having someone maybe with a lower iRating in there. I think that had its own set of challenges, but we, through about a month and a half of recruitment, I think we started recruiting in April. We ran in June.
That's
when
about
the
right.
season started.
Yep.
I think we ended up with 37 registrations, paid registrations.
Yep.
And I think consistently ballpark average out of the 6 races on average, I think we had about 27 to 28 guys there every week.
That's a good car count. We used to try to shoot for an average of 20 because we call ourselves Joe Six Pack Racing, and it was racing for the rest of us. The casual racer, the new racer. We did have an iRating cap of 1,500, actually 2,000. Then we went up to 2,500 to try to get some new drivers in, and then we were going to have like an elite league. So interesting that you started with no IR cap. So did you have like guys with 200s and then others with 6,000 or 7,000? Because the 87s were pretty popular when they first came out.
I think our highest iRating might have been in the 4s. So we didn't have any aliens in there, as they call them. But, we had some really good guys, and we had some guys without a lot of experience. And I think that it all worked out at the end of the season. But I think going into it with some of the first recruitment races, our opening, preseason clash, I think is like, oh man, what have I gotten myself into?
Exactly.
Because you identify the guys, and I think in Alabama and the South, we say bless their heart. They're great guys. We love them.
Yeah.
But there's some guys that are just slower than other guys, and that's going to be the case. That's just if you're on iRacing, you know that.
And that's NASCAR.
Yeah.
Even
absolutely. So I think it was a good experience. I think that, moving forward, I think they're going to be kind of a multi-tiered strategy for us of, with the next gen season, we've been a little bit more selective. Not that we're, filtering out people who have less than like a 2000 I rating or anything like that, but we're looking at your record. We're looking at your official races. We're being a little bit more selective. Haven't turned anyone down yet. But we're being a little bit more scrutinizing with it because we do want guys who are going to go out there, race hard, but can also keep it on the track. Because we don't want to run folks off in the sense that if you're getting wrecked every week by someone behind or someone
there's no fun.
Walling it or dooring you, cleaning you out every week. That's no fun.
No,
right? That's no fun at all. So we want to make it racing that keeps drivers around. Which reminds me, I want to talk about something else after we kind of move on from this. But I'm sure that's happened to you. It's happened to me, and you're just like, why am I even doing this? And you hit 2 or 3 races in a row, or you get cleaned out by someone, or get caught up in a wreck.
Exactly. Yep.
You're like, man, this is no fun. I'm running 15, 20 laps and I'm done.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
It's frustrating. We had the our basic entry was as you could be rookie 2.0 to A 4.0, and then we had the I rating cap of, like I said, of like 2000 went to 2500. But I also went in and, like you said, you checked their records, and we had this one guy or 2 of them. They wanted to come in together, and their numbers were perfect. They were I ratings of like 1500 to 1700, and one was a B3, another was an A2. And then I went and I looked at their stats. I was like, wow, these 2 guys are really good. They win 45, 50% of their races. They're winning, and the other 20% or 30%, they're in the top 5 or top 10. And I'm like, oh, what are their incident counts? Well, one guy had 28 incidents per race average, and the other had about 18. So I said, oh, the only way they're winning is by wrecking people. So I said, nope, they didn't even let him in the league. So
it's amazing what a difference clean racing makes in terms of a broadcast, right? And, if you're talking about I guess I look at it, we're trying to turn our league into something, obviously we're never going to rival anything like Podium or the Coca-Cola series or anything like that, but we're going to turn it into something that people want to watch, right? And the emerging market of esports, that gets bigger and bigger.
Oh, it's huge.
You want to create a product that, at least a chunk of people are interested in watching, and no one wants to watch cars running around under caution. They want to watch, green flag racing. So
exactly,
it is huge.
Yeah. Do you have any sponsors that are kicking in money, and how did you find the sponsors to do that?
That has been one of the biggest learning curves and processes that I've enjoyed it, right? But it's a lot of work, and just to list them right now, we can talk about them and kind of the process. But just quick shout out here: Apex Energy Drink. It's a energy drink for gamers, enhances focus. Obviously not clinically proven or anything like that, but it's a pre-workout supplement as well. So kind of great for a lot of different stuff. They've actually come back on board for a second season.
No kidding.
And have upped their participation. We're grateful for them. Premier Setups.
Okay.
We're going to be giving away a setup every week from Premier over the course of our 15-week next gen season. Half of the weeks we're going to be doing it on social media to anybody and everybody. The other half will be given away to our drivers after the race.
So how many did what we call in the radio business trade versus ponying up cash? Trade means, we'll give you something to give away.
Sure.
How did anybody come in with money on the table like Kyle Busch is looking for?
So last season, Apex Energy and Premier Setups came to the table with a little bit of money. We're grateful for that. I think
that's
never
awesome.
owning the league, I did not have much to ask for.
Yeah.
But they were very gracious and helped us kind of get started. And that's pretty big considering we had no experience.
I was going to say that is huge.
Track record.
Yeah.
I drafted up some emails, and I kind of laid the case out for how our partnership could be really beneficial for both of us.
Exactly.
And apparently, they agreed.
That's really
and
cool.
We were really lucky.
That is great. We had some cash coming to the table, but it was usually because one of the drivers was a manager or knew the owner, good friends of the owner of the company he worked for, and says, "Hey, we got this racing thing, and you do auto glass. Want to sponsor a couple of races?" So they threw in, $25-$50, and then we offered, I don't know, a discount coupon. Yeah, so they're up in Vermont, and half of our, and we got racers in Canada, so they're really going to come down to Vermont or Atlanta to get auto glass.
And that was one of the things, I can say that I probably at this point have sent over 100 emails to people, to different companies. And I think I had to, in my mind, I wanted to be strategic about who I'm kind of writing to, right?
Sure.
Am I writing to more local companies? Or am I writing to people who there is a true appeal and benefit, and we might be able to actually get you some business and increase your audience to a relative kind of customer that you want to reach?
Yeah.
That was the case with Apex Energy. It was the case of Premier. One of our other big partners, we talked about the trophy and stuff here shortly, but UD Awards, it's a Lithuanian company. I found them on Etsy, and I emailed and heard back from Christopher, who's the owner of the UD Awards, and start talking about, what kind of cool trophy can we come up with. And I think I included a picture in that folder I gave you.
Yep.
They had what looked like a sports car wheel. And I said, well, that's kind of cool, but we're racing 87 NASCARs. So I sent them an image of the old 87 bias ply Goodyear.
Okay. And I've got that right up on the screen now.
He sent me an image back, and he said, what do you think about this? I was like, man, that's perfect. That is perfect.
That is so cool.
And that's where our trophy came from this season.
That is really neat. Yeah, that's the one I've got up on the screen right now. I wondered where that came from. Etsy's great. And
yeah, it really is.
And you can find a lot of very inexpensive stuff on there. And like I said, I've got a houseplant shop on there for rare tropicals and cuttings and succulents. And there's some that will sell you, I don't know, some really weird philodendron. There's a company out of Seattle. Forget their name exactly, but they're the Uber plant people on Etsy. Now, I sell rooted cuttings, so I'm not going to send you a leaf at least doesn't have a root on it. I mean, even a spider plant cutting that I sell has got a root on the end of the little baby there. These guys are selling, they'll go into their greenhouse, find a rare philodendron or something like that, or a monstera, and cut a leaf off, and it's $8,000 for the leaf with no guarantee that it's going to grow.
Goodness.
It's like back in the days when, tulip bulbs back in the, I don't know, over in Europe, the tulip craze when they were $3,000 a piece. It's insane.
Well, I can promise you the UD Awards is not going to charge you $8,000 for a trophy and send you one of questionable quality. That's the cool thing. They're affordable. They've got great trophy design. So like anyone listening right now who's running a league, and even yourself, take a look. Because they've got I think they've got over 30 or 40 options. Christopher will help you customize. I think I included an image of our upcoming trophy for our new next gen season.
I saw that.
Later, but that's customized. I worked with him on the design. It's all 15 tracks that we're going to be running at.
Yep.
And it's going to be really cool. It's going to be a big trophy. So
that's neat.
We were lucky to find them. Lucky that they wanted to, be in on this.
Yep. That's cool.
We've had other great. I hate to. I'm not going to promise. Give me another 60 seconds. I'm not going to turn this into a sponsor plug.
But, no, that's fine. Go for it. That's what we're here for.
Designs DSD.
Yep.
He's gotten involved. He got involved last season. He's actually going to be racing some races with us this season.
Oh, that's cool.
He's going to be taking another button box giveaway for us. We gave away some LED gear indicators from Rollins Sim Control last year, and that's been a thing for us. Is I wanted to make this a league that people want to be a part of, and that they feel like they're getting something out of. Obviously, we all love racing. We're going to get our passion out of racing, but what makes you want to come to the next race outside of, hey, I just want to beat that guy? Well,
right.
every week we gave something away. Whether it was a premier setup to the winner of the race.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Sports, who's come on much bigger and a bigger role. They make sports apparel. They came on a bigger role this year, but they gave away a pair of their sim racing gloves last year.
Oh, that's cool.
For one of our drivers.
Now, do you wear sim racing gloves?
I do not.
Okay.
I think I bought the wrong pair a couple years ago. From what I hear, these gloves from Martin Sports are amazing. The driver we gave them away to actually said it felt like he was racing in a real car and made his racing experience, at the very least, much more immersive.
Just with a set of gloves.
What about you?
Okay. No, I don't. I still race with a G29 wheel because I like it. I've had it for 6 years. I've gone through a couple of them. I haven't changed the wheel, but I just upgraded to a set of Club Sport pedals, and oh my gosh, the difference was amazing.
Load cell, man. That's what I tell everyone. Man. If you're looking for the best upgrade that's going to make you faster, get a pair of load cell pedals.
These things are amazing. I'm probably not in the near future going to upgrade the wheel because I'm not into spending a lot of money just to drive faster, but the pedals, oh my gosh, it made all the difference in the world. And plus, you get comfortable with a wheel where all the buttons are, and all of a sudden you get a new one, and you know what customer service is like with these tech companies trying to get someone to help you. I mean, even iRacing, there's no live help. You got to send them an email. Hopefully they read all 3 problems you're having. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they're busy, and they only respond to the first one, and they don't even answer the question, and then you got to go through the whole thing. So once I'm used to the buttons on the wheel, I'm happy with it. It's the casual racer, but the pedals are amazing. So are you going to run 2 leagues? Are you dropping the 87 and going next gen, or are you going to keep both?
So I want to ask you one more question before that.
Sure, go ahead.
I thought about it. Do you run a base shaker, like a base transducer?
Oh, yes. Yes, I run a butt kicker. Oh, my gosh, that was the other major improvement. I've got a butt kicker, too, that sits right behind the seat. It made all the difference, and I've run some of the extensions through SimHub and really don't notice much of a difference when SimHub is on or off. I know there's some guys that run 4 transducers, like 4 little butt kickers, or the tectonic, or is it tectonic? Is what's the terms? Not tectonic. That's earthquakes. Tactile, yes. Yep. And they'll run 4 of them, 1 for each wheel, and said that's amazing. But again, that's a little too technical for me. I know enough about tech to get me going, and if you ask me to do something for you, to get me going and get you in trouble. That's how much tech I know.
Well, yeah, but I'm glad you're running a base shaker, particularly butt kicker.
Because they're amazing.
Until you've driven a sim racing car with a butt kicker. By the way, we're giving one away on our next season.
Oh, cool.
Butt kicker.
Yeah. Butt kicker's great. I know a lot of leagues.
They are.
Yeah. And this one, go ahead.
Go ahead.
This one, like it's the butt kicker too. And I think you mentioned something about you like road racing, but you're not very good at it. Same here. I love road racing. I'm a C600, I think, like that, which is embarrassing, but I love road racing, mainly because we have 2 world-famous tracks within a couple hours from us, Lime Rock in Connecticut, which is an hour away, and I work over there on their big events, and also we go up to Watkins Glen in a couple weeks. That's our pilgrimage, and when you hit those, I don't know what you call them, the rumble strips coming out of the corners or the turns. The curbing, yeah. And you've got that base. Now, the butt kicker, I don't know how it does it, but if I'm going, it's an outside radius and I hit that rumble strip, only the right-hand side of my seat shakes. I don't know how the butt kicker does it.
It's crazy. The technology is so advanced. I don't know how it works either, but...
Yeah. And that's without an outside.
Finely tuned.
Yeah, and that's without an outside app doing it, because you look at this thing and it looks like it's nothing but an oversized golf club head with a heat sink on it, to radiate the heat off, because they will shut off if you run them too hot. And I'm like, oh my gosh, let's see what happens. So then I started on purpose going on the left-hand side, and you feel the rumble on. I don't know how it does it, but it's the difference in the pedals. And I got the butt kicker first, and the pedals about a year later, and it was just incredible.
It's magic, and sometimes it's just best not to know how the magic
happens. But you see, the thing is, I want to know how all that magic works. You know what I'm out. I've got my camera. It's a Nikon D7500, but I just spent $6,000 on lenses in the last 2 years. And
lenses will do that to you.
And you go through all the stuff on it. It's like, okay, what does this do? And you want to learn it, and then you're like, no. So I've got a very good friend that's a professional photographer, and he says, don't overdo it. He says, I still, to this day, when I go out and shoot, every once in a while, I will bring one lens with me, and whether it's a telephoto fixed, a prime lens, a zoom, a wide angle, I will go out and pretend that's my only lens that I own, and so you don't get used to all the gadgets. And that's,
I feel like that's a good way to learn.
Oh, it is
kind of forcing yourself to learn one discipline at a time.
Oh, it's a great way to learn.
Probably a good strategy.
So tell me about when you went 150 miles an hour. What track was that at?
My one real life racing experience was my wife several years ago got me one of those NASCAR driving experiences at Atlanta. Kind of shipped them into Atlanta, but the old Atlanta.
Yeah.
And they told me I went 150 or 160. I got their certificate that says it. I don't know if I went that fast, but I tried learning stick shift when I was a kid, starting out driving, and did not go well. In sim racing, up until recently, I'd always done 6-speed shifter, clutch, and everything. So I had learned it as an adult, at least in the sim rig. So when she got this, I went to the track, and they're like, all right, these things are manual, which I obviously knew.
Right.
But they're like, all right, you get one chance. If you stall it once, you get a redo. If you stall it again, we're going to park you, and you have to do a ride along with a driver. I was like, oh man, this is a lot of pressure getting this thing going. Not, popping that clutch and not stalling it out, coming off the pit road. So get in the car, they're walking me through all the stuff. I got the spotter on the radio headset and all that. And I got it off pit road. I'm pretty sure I sped off the pit road because I wasn't even looking at my tack. I was just worried about not stalling it out.
Yep.
But it was fun, especially when those cars that are a little faster go by you on the outside. That was, it was an exhilarating experience. And also I feel like some of these drivers, you're almost laid back in the car way more than I feel like I've ever been in a sim rig.
No kidding.
I don't know if it was G's pushing back on me, which I'm sure that had something to do with it.
Oh, I'm sure it was. Yeah.
Reclined in that thing.
Wow.
I'm also a short guy too, so I might have been reaching for the pedals a little bit. But
oh yes, and a lot of them. I was on one of the Facebook ads. One of the guys put up something for drive one of the NASCAR cars at a track, and he was half an inch too tall, and they gave him his money back. Oh, he said, "You got to be kidding me!"
Bummer.
Yeah. Last summer, we went up to Watkins Glen. Is about on a good day, 3.5 hours. On a regular day, 4-hour drive. So last year we went up to the 6 hours of the Glen for IMSA. We had tickets. We were going anyway, and then I see WeatherTech had this contest for their hospitality tent, all the food you can eat and all the booze you can drink, and a ride around the track. So I'm like, oh, so we entered and we won. We got VIP parking right outside the WeatherTech tent. Walk up and said, oh, who you with? And I said, I'm kind of embarrassed. I won your Facebook thing. He goes, oh, welcome, come on in. So you're in there. You're sitting down next to this guy's the world famous IMSA photographer, and there's a broadcaster, and there's all the drivers and team guys, nicest people in the world. So then go up for the ride around the track, and I got to go in the brand new Toyota Supra.
Oh,
and
man.
It was fast, no helmet, no roll cage. And I was the passenger, and the guy driving, he did a narration while I was basically laughing my head off because we were going so fast. So we pull out of pit road. It was right before we took off at the beginning of pit road, and we get down to turn 1, and he says, well, we're going to turn 1. We're doing 120 miles an hour. Now we're going to go through the S's, and here we come up whatever that little stretch is before the chicane. And we're look at this. We're up to 147 miles an hour. Now we're in the chicane. Whoa, we're doing 80. And the G-force from going from 147 to 80 in, I don't know, half a second, 3/4 or whatever. And then around the carousel and then down the boot and back up to 120 miles an hour. It was so amazing. I was laughing. It was so cool.
Oh yeah. No, I'm pretty sure I had that. You can't wipe the smile off your face. Your face almost hurts.
Oh yeah. So much. Yeah. You start smiling and then the G-force has got you like that, with that, pardon my French, but that shit-eating grin, like.
Oh yeah. Yep. And there's nothing like a sim rig. You can't tell me that no matter what you do to sim rig, you cannot replicate that sense of speed.
No.
Right? Even if you're doing like the wind simulator and all that.
Yeah.
It's impossible to replicate that.
It is. It is.
No matter how much Buck Kicker or all those other companies try. They get close, but there's just like some element that's missing.
Now, do you race some single screen, triple monitors, or VR?
So this is an ongoing saga. I was an original adopter of Oculus when they had the development kit and one out many years ago.
Okay.
Which was in no way suited or fit for sim racing. Yet I still did it. I'd run triples before. Currently, I'm using Oculus Quest 2, but I'm exploring the options of moving back to triples at some point.
Really? Tell me why you would do that over VR. Why would you?
So, streaming right now, if I'm going to be streaming or potentially exploring something like that, Oculus takes up a lot of
video memory, right? Yeah.
Okay. Video memory.
Yeah.
So it's not that I dislike Oculus. I had some issues with it a couple months ago. I think I've got all the bugs worked out, but like it is amazing. I will put it. I think it's better than triple screens, honestly.
Okay.
Because if there is like one thing that's going to make you feel like you're in the car, I think it's that.
Yeah.
Because it's perfectly to scale. If you get it to work correctly, I've got a motion simulator. I've kind of tweaked it a little bit, and man, like you kind of forget that you're not in a real car.
Okay. Did you have any problem with vertigo when you first started?
Nope. I've been one of the lucky ones. I've never knocked on wood. I'll probably get sick tomorrow night, but I've never had motion sickness.
That's good to know. I just run a single screen mainly because where I've got my rig set up in my man cave, I'm the type of guy who's like, when I get it there, it's staying. I'm not moving it because it's the frame. It's well up off the floor. The rig is, I don't know, from open wheel racing, and it's raised up on a platform, and it's tricked out with, all kinds of cool lights and stuff. And I've got, from Greg Biffle's car when he ran Cheez-It, I've got the left front fender.
That's awesome.
And the back one on the driver's side. So that's what it is, and I'm not moving it. Because
it's an addiction, man. Once you start tweaking these things, so you just get deeper, and it's like the photography, right? With the lenses. Once you get into it, the more you get into this hobby, the more time and the more money you're going to spend.
Yeah.
My wife calls my rig the sister wife.
Yep. Now, where my rig is now was originally my home brewery, because I was doing home brewing for quite a while and teaching classes at the garden center on it, and then I started collecting so much NASCAR crap between me and my son. We've got about 300 die casts. He's got 100 upstairs. I've got 200 down here. I ran out of stuff. Ran out of room, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to make my man cave bigger. So the room I'm in now, which is like 9 by 10, used to be my hydroponics room where I had a hydroponics setup. So now it's got all the corrugated metal sheet, around there, and a lot of the decals that went on the cars, because my son Sam made a deal with somebody for, I think it was the Racing Warehouse or one of the other racing guys, for $20. He got this huge box of decals that they actually put on the car, so they're all over the place.
Oh, cool.
And then as my wife started, when I started having weekends off, she has weekends off. She's a nurse, so her weekends are just like total crash pad time, because she's like overworked and at the nursing home and such. And I was like, wow, I need a place to go where I can watch Xfinity on Saturday, trucks on Friday, and NASCAR Cup Series on Sunday without having to share the TV or throw her off. So I'm like, started to look into home theaters. I'm like, okay, how many times do we have people come over and watch movies? None. All right. I still like audio because I'm like, an audio guy. My favorite thing is being in a recording studio. When I used to do some radio and TV commercials, I love that environment. I just love the buttons and all the knobs, and that, like the radio console I used to work with. And so like, all right, I want a home theater, but I'm not going to spend $12,000 building a new room with acoustic panels. So what I did was I jerry rigged another addition to the 2 rooms of the man cave. It's now like a 600 square foot apartment down in the basement, and the movie room, which has all NASCAR crap all over the place, is 7 by 11, 6 by 11, something like that. And it's Atmos surround sound with a 65-inch screen and 300 watts. And it's great.
Oh, man.
So
you got the best of both worlds kind of going on.
Yeah, because my thing was, when I graduated in 1980, everybody was that was when yuppies were invented, somewhere around then. And everybody was like, wow, I'm going to go to Wall Street. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to have a yacht and like that. And I was one of those guys that was, into sports and pretty smart. And IBM was really, really big in Dutchess County where I grew up. And, oh, you're going to be the next president of IBM. I'm like, nah, I'm going to plant flowers. So you guys can go after the mega bucks. I'll do mega nickels. And they're like, what's that? Well, when you're driving your yacht, I will have my little putt-putt bass boat, and I will catch just as many fish as you. So that's been my whole modus operandi, is like, oh, I can't afford to race, but I'll volunteer at the track. I'll get a couple rides in a pace car, and I'll do iRacing. So that's why I've got, the home theater. So this is like it's not 600 square feet. I would say it's probably 250 square foot apartment down here in the basement. And I've got a fridge. I've got running water. All I got to do is plug in a microwave and a coffee maker and go upstairs to go to the bathroom and take a bath or shower.
Self-sufficient.
Pretty much.
That's awesome. Sounds like if you want to do the Daytona 24 Spa or Le Mans,
I would
just stay down there all day.
Stay down there. Just keep bringing me beer. Speaking of 24, I had I think his name is Justin Klaber. He was the tire changer for Zane Smith in the Camping World Series. He was on my podcast because he was doing something with a NASCAR videographer that they call the 24 Beers of Daytona.
Oh, man.
And they ran it a couple weeks after the 24 hours. It wasn't quite 24 hours. They ran over 2 days. They ran 16 of the 24 hours. But at the end, you had to have 24 verifiable empty cans of beer or bottles that you and a couple of no more than 2 other drivers drank during the thing.
Okay, so the 24 could be split over the course of 3 drivers, though.
Yes.
So in theory, 8 apiece. Okay.
Right. But what he said
sounds really fun. Me and Chris run the 24 on iRacing.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
We've always done it just by ourselves, so it's 12 hours at the piece, which is a lot.
Oh, that's a lot.
It's grueling. By the time 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning rolls around, we're both like, what were we thinking? And we've done it year after year after year.
Now, how many hours do you run?
Beer that could get wild.
Yeah. And
I'm interested in that for sure.
Yeah, it's called the 24 Beers of Daytona, and I think they're going to do it again. Now, what they did was it was broadcast. I said, you got someone doing this for the whole thing? He goes, well, not really. They had somebody, I don't know, pick a broadcaster name that would do the first hour or maybe the first 2 hours to get people into it. Then they just streamed it over Twitch or whatever, something platform like that. And then they came in with their broadcaster again for the last hour and a half or 2 hours of the race. Because he said, think about it. No broadcaster is going to want to put somebody up at 3 a.m. to watch this, and nobody's going to watch the whole thing. So although it was broadcast, they did most of it themselves. They put a camera in front of the screen or did through OSB or something. But it was really cool.
I've always wondered about the viewership numbers for like the 1 o'clock, 2 a.m. hour in that Rolex race, or any Le Mans might have more viewers. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the live races, like the 24 Hours of Le Mans or Sebring or whatever those are, you've got a worldwide audience. So somewhere when it's 2:00 in the morning here, it's 6:00 in the morning, 7:00 at night the next day somewhere else.
Yeah, so someone's watching.
So that's a gold mine for the broadcasters. You're going to 24 hours a day worldwide. Yeah, we'll do it. So just send us the money. So then
broadcasters were something we were lucky to find our broadcaster for our sim racing league.
Who's your broadcaster?
So our broadcaster is Southern Broadcaster Racing Network, SBRN. Been around for about a year and a half now.
Yep.
And Jeremy Robbins and Richard Hurst, they do a great job with our broadcast.
Cool.
I don't even know how I found them. I think I found them on Facebook.
Yeah.
As you know, there are all these Facebook groups for broadcasting and all that.
Right.
But, the attention and stuff that they put in, especially to someone who has no idea what they're doing, and they've been patient with me because I don't have a type A personality, but I know what I want. I know kind of the look I want.
Yep.
And someone who doesn't have knowledge of Streamlabs or OBS trying to tell people, hey, I want this to look like this.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's frustrating for them at some points, but they've done a really stellar job.
Yeah. And what are the
broadcasts this season for the 87s, and then they're coming back and doing our next gen season starting on August 24th.
Now I forgot what you said because I'm on I hate to tell you, but I'm on my second beer, so I forgot what you said. Are you going to be running? Good. Are you going to be running both leagues?
So the 87 is over for now.
Okay.
That was kind of our opening salvo. 6 races.
Yeah.
And Chris and I, like I said, are both teachers, so I think we pretty much decided the way we want to run this thing is almost like a semester sort of
right.
schedule.
That makes sense. Yes.
A fall semester followed by a spring semester and then a summer, which will be a shorter series.
Got it.
We want to have 2 series running simultaneously at some point. That very well might come in the spring.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more. Tell me a little bit more about the next gen. When is it starting? When are you recruiting? And are there any different parameters? Are you going to have an I rating cap or a safety rating or license cap or range?
For this season, we are running the next gen's 15 races. It starts August 24th. And we're running recruiting races all the way up through the 17th, which is technically like our preseason exhibition. We're actually doing our clash race at Monza on the oval, which should be interesting.
We're
running recruiting races Wednesday nights. Practices will open up at 7:30 East. The race will start at 8:30 East.
Okay.
This week, tomorrow night, we're running at Richmond. And
you can't run at Richmond. I'm running at Richmond. You can't run at Richmond. I'm running at Richmond. I already paid for the track.
Oh, shucks. You own it. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. So is this you're running at Monza? Is this the crazy automobile blah, blah, blah to Monza that they run the Carburetor Cup at?
It's going to be the big oval.
Oh, yeah. That track is insane.
So it could get wild and crazy. And we're ready for it, but it's just a fun opening kind of exhibition race. Everyone get to know each other a little bit. Maybe learn how each other race. But we'll do that on the 17th. But for the next 3 weeks, we're running these recruitment races on Wednesday night. We invite anyone to come in. It'll be open. There'll be no password. You can just search for SSRL, Slingshot Racing League recruiting. And tomorrow night, like I said, at Richmond, Ellis Thomas will be the host.
Cool.
And in terms of what we do for the league, we don't do stage racing. We run it about a quarter of, I'm trying to think of the exact, it just varies for distance, but for our opening race at Daytona, it's 200 miles. So we run a little bit less than half of the length that the cup races do.
That makes sense.
They tend to be about an hour and a half or less.
That's about the right number, because you figure by the time, first of all, you got to log on, and then you got to go through the practice, the qualifying, and such like that. And an hour and a half is about the right amount of time, is what I've found.
Yeah, that's kind of what we don't want to run a super short race, but we don't want to be there for hours either. You get your pit action. We run 70% fuel, 3 total sets of tires, so you get 2 changes, which puts a little bit of strategy into it.
Okay.
I think that's something a lot of our drivers struggled with this season was managing tires, especially in those 87s. It can be challenging.
Because
so we like to add that element of putting it in the driver's hands to conserve tires.
Yep. Well, we started doing
a lot of drivers want us to add a set. We're like, we'll think about it.
Well, we started doing. I think what was the Joe Sixpack Racing Next Gen Series. I think they're in season 5. Season 4, we did put in a competition caution, and the reasoning for that was to keep with the racing for the rest of us. We had guys that the only reason they joined was because we had what did we do? We did 2 quick fixes, competition caution, because these guys are putting in all this time qualifying, practicing, and they get 3 laps down when you're a quarter through the race. We gave them 1 opportunity to catch up. So we set a competition caution. If the race was 100 laps, we set it at 40%. So lap 40 or anywhere about there was a competition caution. And a lot of the more casual drivers really appreciated it because we had some guys that were, like I said, 2,500 and others that were 700, but they just liked racing with us. But they didn't like the fact that not even halfway through the race, they've got 1 quick fix left. They're not managing their tires well because they don't know how to, and they don't want to crash, but they're 3 laps down. So it was a way just to get them back, give them 1 chance, but not piss off the leaders by having, a competition caution at 60%. Otherwise, why bother? So we kind of, it seemed to work out pretty well. Now, your next gen series, is it?
You guys are generous with that quick fix. We don't have a quick fix.
We're changing that. We're gonna do 1 in the truck series, and I'm gonna do an Xfinity series later on, and I think there's not going to be any quick fixes in there. So yeah, we had 2, and it did after a while get to be a little bit too much because you said you get wrecked by the guy who doesn't care because I got 2 quick fixes. I'll just wreck you and then go fix my car.
Yeah,
so
that was Chris and I's mentality of like, if we give the quick fix, yes, we know things happen, but at the same time, we want you to drive with the mentality that there is no quick fix. In real racing, which I know we're not real racing, but
sure it is.
No quick,
this is real racing. Come on, man. Come on, it's real racing.
At least at the beginning of the race in a fairly conservative way.
Yeah. So we're going to go with the truck series. It's going to be 1 because that's what everybody's asked for. No competition caution. We're going to run the restart zones because we had issues. One of the reasons the other league hit that, your sophomore or your junior year in that league, season 3, was we had a problem with a team that was, if they weren't jumping the start, they were holding back because another one of their teammates was either behind them or outside, and they would hold back on the start until their teammate got in, and they would cut a place for them, especially when they were running P. Of the 4 that were in the team, 4 of them were in the top 6. And so that became an issue. And
that's frustrating.
Right. But
do you guys use race control at all?
No, we didn't have anybody in race control. I was doing it the first season, but then everybody wanted me to jump in and start racing. So we just used iRacing rules. But I think the restart zone is going to fix all those problems with, somebody jumping the start or holding back. Because if you jump the start, you're going to get a black flag. And if you don't maintain speed, like these guys were doing to allow their buddies to come up on the outside line and then drop down, and then all of a sudden they take off, and funny thing was, of the 4 of them, 3 of them were admins. And that did not end well. Let me put it this way. That did not end well.
You don't want your admins dominating the league. Like Chris, who's our co-owner, won a race this year, but we're fortunate that Chris or I are not alien iRacers. Chris is better than I am, but we'll be running top 10. Chris usually runs a little bit better than I am, but we brought a race controller in after the 3rd race of the season this year. North Wilkesboro was our 3rd race, and it's North Wilkesboro. It's going to be crazy, but we felt like bringing in that race controller and kind of issuing race penalties for over aggressive driving, and that really made a difference.
Yes,
and it's just like we wanted. I mentioned at the beginning, we wanted to make this a place where people wanted to come race.
Mhm.
We don't take ourselves too seriously, but
Sure.
we're not going to tolerate someone,
Oh, exactly.
plowing into someone,
Yeah.
3 different people because they just decided they were going to overdrive the corner and drive.
Yeah, and then when we had 4 admins, 2 of them were really good. They each won championships. One was so-so, and then I was the guy. Hey, I'm happy. I was happy finishing 15th out of 25 cars. Finishing the race.
The rest of us, right?
Yeah, I'm the rest of us. But then when you've got to issue a penalty in the middle of the race, gee, guys, so I'm talking to the admins on the admin channel on Discord. I'm P1. I don't feel like looking over at my other screen or toggling and find out which driver's the a-hole giving them a penalty. You want to do it? No, I'm P4, and so that's where race control makes sense. But what I finally did is I did get a button box, but instead of an extra, it's basically just a number keypad that plugs in, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and a couple other ones. And I found a site where you can go in on iRacing and, okay, you want to issue a penalty, you copy the string, drop it in. So I'm like, oh, I can do this now. So if someone's got a, I hit, okay, I reach over and I'm like, okay, I press number 1, the car number, and 6, that gives the guy a black flag. Press number 1, the car number, and then 9, that kicks him off the race. So, but I do see the advantage of having race control.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna move forward with it. And if we feel like we don't need it, we might move on. But we felt like it made a difference, and
especially
to me, to not have to worry about it is like a weight lifted off my shoulder.
Right, especially when you're issuing the penalties right away. Because our poor guy over in Ireland, he would go through, and I don't know if you know, but there's like a line-by-line report of all the accidents and all the incidents on iRacing.
Correct.
All right, and he would go through that. All right, car number 21, lap 6. He would go back into the race, and he'd show up at the admin meeting. All right, what do you want to do about this? And then we'd all look on Discord. He'd have the race, the lap 21, car 6 went into this guy. He did it 3 laps later. This guy spent like 5 hours a week on each race analyzing and going through all those reports.
That's what we did for the first 3 races. Mm-hmm. And I hope we were like, man, this is way too much. I'll just pay someone to do this for us. And it also sends the message that, like, in the middle of the race, you're being watched. So your conduct, the way you're driving is being watched by someone who's ready to issue a penalty. And we're not heavy on the penalties.
Right.
But like, we want to make it a place where you can't just get away with anything. Because we want people to want to come race and not feel like they're going to get taken out or raced unfairly.
Sure. So who does your
go ahead?
Who does your race control? Is it an admin? Do you alternate doing it, or do you pay somebody
We
to do it?
actually brought in someone from the outside.
Okay.
A guy called Eli Childs did it for us this season,
mm-hmm.
and we're still kind of working on finalizing who our race control is going to be for this upcoming season. But what they do is they'll sit in their own race control channel, and they know our guidelines, they know our rules, they know what we're looking for.
Sure.
And if they see it, they issue the penalty. It's not a conversation. I don't want to be involved in it.
Right.
Chris doesn't want to be involved in it. It's up to them. And if if the penalty needs to be explained, it's up to them to explain it. If that means them talking to the driver afterward or going into their channel and Discord in the middle of the race, so be it. We felt like it made for better, cleaner racing.
Yes, because it's right there. Like you said, you're being watched. You're not being reviewed at a admin meeting 2 days later with the penalty coming out 2 days before the next race.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said, it was a big blessing for us. So that's the plan for this upcoming next gen season. We're excited. I think right now we're up to 23 drivers we've got registered.
That's cool.
So there's definitely some more spots left. We're still recruiting. Hoping my goal is to at least have 30. If I get 30, I'm happy. The more the merrier. The more drivers, the bigger the prize purse, right? We're actually, I keep on teasing it to our drivers that race with us last season, but our giveaways are going to be bigger and better. We're giving away a butt kicker system. We're giving away a DST button box again.
Oh, wow.
We're going to be giving away a handful of Martin's Sports driving sim racing gloves.
Cool.
And what else are we giving away? We're giving away some other things I can't talk about specifically yet, but I think the biggest one, which I can generally mention, is in some capacity we're going to be giving away a custom-built racing slingshot racing themed gaming computer.
No kidding. Oh, that's cool.
Can't tell you with who yet, but we're kind of finalizing that right now, and we're super excited. We're about making it a place where, like, it's a community. We have a pretty active, really active Discord.
Yeah, we
try
too.
to be active on social media. We just want to be a place where people want to come and race, but also feel like, there's something in it for them.
What is it? What does it cost to get into the league?
$25 entry fee for this next gen season.
Okay.
And that covers everything. That covers the way we generally do our giveaways. If it's a race giveaway, if you start the race, you're eligible. So we're working on kind of finalizing what our prize payout and purse payout is going to look like. But it's going to include all the things that I talked about and probably some extras as well. Okay. Our logo, which I think you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
We just got done with the redesign. It's our official graphic designer, Evan Pienta Designs, who does a lot of trading paints. He actually got featured by iRacing for
kidding.
I think it was a Bobby Allison Miller Lite, Miller High Life, the iconic Miller car.
Yeah.
He recreated, but he came up. He's the one who came up with this exact slingshot design. This is an original, one of a kind. No one else has anything like it that I know of. But he did a great job.
That's really cool. Yeah, I was footing the bill for for everything on the first 3 or 4 seasons. But what I did was we started our. I called it a crypto. It was more like an altcoin. And it was called Lug Coin, and it just so happened to coincide when NASCAR went from 5 lug nuts to 1 lug nut. And what I did was I picked one pretty well-known crypto coin. It wasn't Bitcoin. It was Cardano. And then one medium-known one and one no one's ever heard of. So it was they sold anywhere from a penny to 50 cents to $2. I just took the simple average of the 3, and that's what Lug Coin was. And basically, what I did, it was our form of a charter system. So what I wanted to do was not have people pay to get in, and if they're not happy, get out. They could sell their charter back to the league if and when they left the league. And so we did that. We called it Lug Coin, and every day everyone was, hey, what's the price of Lug Coin today? Or I'll buy another $25 worth. So I would log it in, manually. You bought $25. Lug Coin today is 1.75. You now own a cumulative total of 23 Lug Coins. So there was, you bought it at whatever the market price was, but when you sold it back to the league, it was less 10%. And so that way it covered some of the transaction fees on, I don't know, one of those stupid Bitcoin exchanges, Coinbase. And the league would make a little bit of money on it. And everybody loved it because, and what I wanted to do with it before we had a parting of ways was put a limit on the number, like NASCAR, the number of charters, so that if you wanted to, get in on the Lug Coin, you would have to buy your charter from somebody else hopefully at a higher price, and they would make some money on it. So it was a lot of fun. And
I'm speechless. That's a really cool, great idea.
Yep. And I think it was I forget what it was. Cardano was the big one. I've got them written down somewhere, and we just used the simple average. It wasn't a weighted average. Cardano's $2 and the other one's 10 cents, so Cardano's worth 80% of the price. I don't know how to do that. I haven't done algebra like that in 35, 40 years. So, and everybody loved it. And I would put up, we had a special page on our Discord for the Lug Coin price. And someone said, I want to buy some. All right. And He sent me money on Venmo, and I said, you got to send it Venmo or Zelle. I'm not going to take a hit on the transaction fee on PayPal or something like that. If you do, you're going to lose. It's 2.3%. You're going to lose 5% because I'm not taking a hit on the opening buy like that. And it was a lot of fun. It really worked out.
It's a really interesting idea. I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah,
I don't think I'm smart enough to figure it out on my own, but
it was
cool. That's creative,
and it was pretty easy because, and we had this in the logo. I had a photograph of a NASCAR lug nut at like a 45-degree angle, and I'm not a graphic artist. I usually use Snapseed or something like that or Title Effects to do it. And I'm like, well, all these crypto coins have these really bizarre logos. So what I did is I just put little brackets around the letters LGC, and I put LGC in some funky type. I don't even know what it was, and put that on there, and then put it all around. And we had a good time with it. And one of our broadcasters says, your sponsor today is Lugcoin. Who's that? I go, oh, that's our own private crypto. They're like, what?
That's awesome. I'm going to have to look into that. You've given me, I don't want to be a copycat, but
no, go ahead.
You've given me some ideas. I'm writing things down as we go.
Yeah. So, because what it did is
I think the point of the league is to have fun. And it gives drivers something else to do, right? You want to build that community, and it sounds like that was a really good way to do it.
Yeah, and when I put up on I don't know, on the Facebook page, iRacing Leagues or something like that, I said, yeah, Joe Sixpack Racing will be at Talladega this week. It's sponsored by Lugcoin. As far as I know at the time, I said, we're the only iRacing league with its own private crypto. And everybody said, how do I buy it? I go, you can't. It's private. So it was a lot of fun.
Oh man, that's really cool.
Yeah,
I'm always looking for new ideas, and that is a first. I haven't heard of before.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is
that's awesome.
What I'm thinking,
it's like community.
Yeah.
So like one thing I've learned is I've gotten more immersed into it with just the contacts I'm making through the league with partners and drivers.
Oh yeah, it's great.
It's like this is a whole community that I think people don't necessarily understand until they become part of it.
Exactly.
We had a driver from Australia in our league this year, and just what we learned from him about NASCAR in Australia. He worked on like a strawberry farm in Australia. It's just so many cool cultural.
Oh, it's great. I've talked to like some of the guests I've had on this show. I've had a couple NASCAR guys that were on, like the tire changer for Zane Smith, and then I'm watching the truck series, and I'm like, my wife's like, well, what are you looking for? Zane Smith's leading. He said, there's the guy who was on my, and I'm looking, hey, Justin, I saw you on TV today. Congratulations on the win. And he got right back to me. And he had some really cool stories about it. He said, as you can imagine, it's such a cutthroat business. You got to be on the top of your game if you're going to be one of the over-the-wall guys, because those are the guys on the crew teams that make the big bucks. Let's say you're just you're a crew member behind the wall, or you're a crew member. They use this scenario. I don't know if you listen to NASCAR radio on Sirius XM, but Dave Moody was talking about it, and he says he had somebody on. And he was just talking about the whole garage thing. He says, he goes, let's say if you're with a halfway decent team, your base salary is $50,000. If you're part of the crew, the pit crew, it jumps another 50. If you're an over-the-wall guy, it jumps at least another 50. So you're looking at these guys that are on the better teams, and he's the jack guy. He's an over-the-wall guy. He's making $150,000 a year to pump up the jack if he's on a good team. Less on
one of the Joe Gibbs tire changers just signed a 5-year deal, and that's a huge deal because drivers aren't even getting 5-year contracts, right? So
no,
you're right. That's the direction this is going, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
imagine
being the
community's huge.
Yeah, imagine being a NASCAR driver. You not only have to sell your skills today, you've got to bring Nabisco or Budweiser to the table, and then you also have a contract with the manufacturer. You've got to be pretty smart to figure that out for yourself, or you've got a pretty good agent behind you because back in there were these. I don't know how long you've been a NASCAR fan, but back when in the heyday, back in the '90s, there were these teams called starting parks.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
They would qualify, get out there, run 4 or 5 laps, collect their prize money, and these teams owners were making millions of dollars a year. And then of course, they did what Major League Baseball did. They overbuilt parks, and all of a sudden, your season ticket? Nah, you got to buy a $25,000 license now. That just gives you the right to have the ticket. The ticket's this much, and we're going to charge you $20 when you come to park. That's what the New York Giants did. And now these guys got to have, like you said, you can be the best driver going, and you can be the Truck Series or Xfinity champion. And if next year, well, you don't have a sponsor. So you got to negotiate with the team. You got to bring money to the table. And a lot of these guys, from what I understand, are under contract with the manufacturers too. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really hard. You've got to be a great driver, but you've almost equally got to have that personality or connection.
Exactly.
With the sponsor that's going to front the money.
Yeah. Like Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain, he's the watermelon man.
Mm-hmm.
That is so unique. And then you've got Anthony something or other, Fast Pasta.
Yeah,
that driver.
Anthony
Alfredo, yeah.
He's great with sponsors. So many of these guys are great with sponsors, and it's why you see them, they're not getting top tier rides necessarily, but, it's likely why I think Alfredo got he had a year in Cup, and one of those, not a starting park team, but a pretty respectable team because he had partners. He's a good driver, don't get me wrong.
Oh, they're all good drivers, yeah. Even the worst driver is a better driver than I would ever be.
Same here. It's all about marketability, though.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing I want to mention
go ahead.
Before we finish is, I don't know, you might not be aware of this, but there's a new sim racing channel on Roku devices.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
The reason I mention it is because our league and so many others are going to be appearing on it starting. It just launched yesterday, actually. It's called the Sim Racing Channel. So if you've got a Roku TV, Roku box, Roku stick, you can literally just look up Sim Racing Channel.
Oh, there you go. It's
going to have live races pretty much daily, starting, I think, in the next week or two. It's going to have race replays. It's going to have hardware reviews. It's going to have other sim racing related content series. It's completely free.
Wow.
It's going to be I think, a way to expose a lot of people who have never been, never encountered sim racing. It's going to give kind of some exposure to our kind of hobby that has been at least hidden from a large mainstream.
And it has for the longest time. I remember watching one of the first NASCAR championships. I think it was during COVID, the first year of COVID, when there was no racing, but Fox Sports 1 or Fox Sports 2, actually, they would broadcast the iRacing NASCAR series. And I remember watching it, and I'm like, this is crazy. We're watching a cartoon, but this is so cool. Dale Jr.'s moderating, he's announcing the race. And then they show the cameras where these guys are racing, and here's this 17-year-old kid. You see his bed in the background.
Yeah.
And he just won 4. He's 17 years old, and there goes his dog in and out of the room. And this is on national TV, and the guy wins $40,000. And I'm like, okay, that's really good for iRacing, but they sell out stadiums for these war games.
Right.
Literally 15,000.
Call of Duty, Overwatch.
Yeah. But recently, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola series, or one of them, it within a period of like whatever it was, 2 or 3, maybe 4 years, it went from $40,000 for the championship to $150 with a $300,000 total purse. And it's like, wow. So now you got NASCAR teams. I think RCR, Richard Childress, has an eNASCAR team. And
they all do.
I think William Byron teams. Does. Yep. And what a great way to get people into racing, because you look at all professional sports, and how many people watch baseball anymore? Because it just seems boring, because everything is now sound bites. News is now sound bites. look how quickly. How much do you hear about the war in Ukraine anymore? You heard about it 20.
It's old news.
Yeah, but it's still going on. Well, I guess the war's over. Oh, that flood down in Kentucky. 2 weeks from now, they won't talk about it. Oh, I guess everybody's houses are rebuilt. That's what it is, and it's
our attention spans are very short.
Right, and the same thing happened with radio. There was this really good rock station in Poughkeepsie, New York, which is a small market sandwiched between New York City, the biggest market, media market in the world, and up here in Albany, which was number 60 in the U.S. Poughkeepsie market, out of the 240 media markets, was like number 175. But there was a station, rock station, WPDH. They were breaking all the new stuff coming out. And then consolidation and the consultants came through, and everybody's playlist on a lot of these stations is maybe 500 songs, and everything is segmented, and you can't even play what you want anymore. But back then they did, and it was so cool.
Those were the days, right?
Those were the days, yep. And what happened is, I don't know if you... so you were like 2001, you were like 11. All right, so what I saw...
89 was my birth year, for reference.
So what I saw in media was the peak of all forms of media: newspaper, radio, TV, magazines in the 80s were gangbusters. And then 1990, the internet came out. And the change was bigger than vinyl to CD to downloading. It just destroyed everything. And
yeah, I feel like I was alive during this remarkable age of transition, right?
Yeah.
You still had kind of
both
of these things going on, some coming in, others on their way out.
Right. Yep. And within a matter of, and the same thing happened to IBM. IBM in Poughkeepsie, which everybody said I was going to run, the computer, the IBM or the East Fishkill plant. I'm like, I didn't know anything about computers. I didn't take math after 10th grade. I went to horticulture school at, for the trade school part of high school, because I was an 89 average, and I missed all the advanced placement classes by 1 point. So I went to my guidance counselor and said, wait a minute. Why is the guy with the 98 average, who's going to get all the scholarships, why is he in advanced placement and I'm the B plus guy, the B plus A minus? I'm the one that needs that to get in. I said, forget it. I'm going to go to BOCES, which was the trade school part. And back then, they sent all the trade school, vocational part of high school. That's where they sent all the bad kids, the kids that didn't want to learn, the kids that had behavioral problems. I said, well, what do you want to go there for? And I said, I'm in the student newspaper. I'm on the literary journal. I'm the manager of the radio station. We're running concerts and stuff like this. I'm bored. I'm 17. I'm working 35 hours a week, breaking all New York State labor laws, working for New York State. And I'm bored, and you're not putting me in advanced placement. So I want to go learn how to plant trees. And my guidance counselor tried to talk me out of it. And I said, no, I want to go. So that's what I did. And lo and behold, I graduated college in 82, community college. And just when I was getting married and buying my house, IBM imploded. They laid off 10,000 people at the place I was supposed to run, according to everybody. So glad I know how to plant trees. Yep. So we talked about everything. Oh, your favorite driver and your favorite series and asphalt or oval. Let's do that quick, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, definitely oval. Okay. And when I started, watching when I was growing up, was a Sterling Marlin fan.
Yep.
And do you remember him? This was the point he's driving the Coors Light car.
Yeah. Got a lot of his die casts on the wall.
Oh, yeah, same here. That KISS car he drove back in like 2002.
Oh, that I don't have. Yeah.
But naturally, that transitioned into being a fan of Jamie McMurray, who kind of replaced Sterling when he retired.
Cool. Okay.
What's that?
I said good. I know both the names.
Yeah, great guys, and now pull for Tyler Reddick.
Yes.
Great driver, great guy. Fun to watch. So.
Yep, he is. And what else we have there? I think that just about covers everything. And what? Oh, let's go back to your job. What do you teach, and what's your degree in?
So I teach American history, and I teach like anthropology, cultural geography course
Cool. Okay.
to high schoolers. And I've got master's degree in American history, so I'm a history kind of academic guy.
Love it.
Which
And
is not something you often see, paired with being a NASCAR fan. No offense, but it's
you don't.
It's not the most common thing.
You don't see. Well, I'm sure you see a lot of lawnmower guys, but you don't see a lot of horticulturists in NASCAR either.
Sure. Yeah. No, you're
Cool.
right. You're right. We're fish out of water.
Got it. So I just saw your degree from Pace University. Is that the one up here in New York?
It is the one in New York. I did it mostly online.
Oh, okay. Did you end up going there?
It was no joke. It was just like being in person. Weekly meetings, weekly papers, weekly readings, all sorts of stuff.
Okay. I was at Pace University once in high school for our school newspaper went down, and the keynote speaker, I forget his name, but he was one of the big columnists at the time in the late 70s for the Daily News, Jimmy something or other, and he was unbelievable. First thing he said, because we're all high school students, he says, if you're on your school newspaper and you're still friends with your high school principal, you're not doing your job. And everybody went, yeah!
That's hilarious.
It was great.
Yeah, I feel like there's some validity to that to a certain degree.
Oh, yeah, there was.
I still kind of agree with that.
Yeah, because back then, we could pretty much print whatever we wanted in the newspaper if it was legit. And then shortly after, the superintendent came in, we're going to edit everything you guys do. And we had a high school radio station, and when we needed money for equipment, the student government says, well, we'll loan you the money, and you can pay us back, all snide and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't want your stinking money. Well, where are you going to come up with the money buy your $2,000 for the equipment? And I said, I got the money in the bank. I've got a really good job. So it confounded them, and I was running for student government, and the last thing the student government wanted was me being the Rupert Murdoch of the high school, being the manager of the radio station, assistant managing editor of the newspaper, and even on the school poetry journal. They did not want me in there, and we came
media tycoon.
Yeah, we came real close to overthrowing the student government, because what happened, and it's a long story. You have to go around. You got to get 200 signatures. 200 signatures to run for student government in a school of 1,500 people, and there were 5 people running, and they could not be duplicates. So
not an easy task.
No. But what I found out was the first person that got the 200 in, theirs all counted. And if I came in with a duplicate, they knocked mine down and go, wait a minute, that's not what the student constitution says. And the student government then and their advisor got real nervous. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? And I says, I'm going to contest this, and we're going to overthrow the student government. But it was too late in the season, and the principal said, it's too late. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm like, well, we tried. So that was back in the days when freedom of the press was still there, even in your high school yearbook, which is not there anymore, for good reason and bad reason.
I was about to say there are some valid reasons.
Yeah, and that's
speaking as someone who's witnessed it firsthand. But,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
and you've lived quite a life, been all over the place.
Yeah, and
when it comes to interests and careers.
Oh yeah, and I was told, and I'm still a talk radio junkie. Used to stay up late at night when I was 14, have my little transistor radio and see how many stations I could get in, and tune in the static. And now I still listen to talk radio. I don't listen to any of the national guys. I met Rush Limbaugh once, listened to him for a while, but then it gets the same thing over and over again. I tried listening to the major left-wing talk radio people, and they're bashing the right like the left is bashing this and the right's bashing that guy. So my favorite station is out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, because it's more like a talk show, like we're doing right now.
It should be.
Yeah. And then I listen to a couple stations in New Zealand, Australia, There's a few good stations around left, and you can do it while I'm in between lawns or driving around, and you can do it without static, and it's online. So it's still kind of the same thing. So still out there, just a different form. It's still radio, it's still news, it's still conversation.
Well, it is interesting to see the fact that podcasts are becoming big again, right? Like we're going back to where audio and listening is more in vogue. And I think it's reflective of where we are as a society.
I think
always
so.
On the go, right? We might not have time to watch something, but surely we could listen to something.
You can exactly
driving somewhere,
right? Because, like I said, if you tune into what used to be your favorite radio station that played music, and wait a minute, I just heard this song yesterday, and oh, that's not a DJ, it's a computer. Or if it's a DJ, they do what's called voice tracking, where my friend does that, and he loves it because he was getting a full-time salary and only working like 8 hours a week. They'd have, and of course everything's on computer. The song would play, and they go, okay, you have a 15-second audio spot here. And you could say, okay, this is Saturday afternoon. It's 4 o'clock, da-da-da. And he's recording this on Tuesday morning and doing it at his home instead of going to the station. So it sounded like the DJ was live, but his whole week was recorded on Monday in a matter of 3 hours. And so, yeah, but there's still some live radio out there. And it's kind of cool to find it. So, hey,
all right, well, I'm going to have to run.
Yeah, me too. So let's wrap this up. Tell me one more time your next gen series. How they get
series is running on Wednesday night, starting August 24th. Right now, we're running recruitment races. Every Wednesday. This weekend or this week, we're at Richmond. Look for SSRL recruiting.
Cool.
Season fees $25 for the entire season. Lots of prizes, lots of fun.
Excellent.
Find us on Facebook.com/SSRL League. Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you having us on.
Sure thing. Hey,
hopefully maybe we can do it again at the end of our next gen season.
Yeah, well, let's hook up in the middle of the season. If it's going really well, send me a shout. I'm booking guests right now. I don't like to book them any more than 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time, because then they forget or they get bored or totally forget about it. I'm not gonna, not gonna wait 6 weeks to be on your show. So anyway, Ellis Thomas from Slingshot Racing League, 87 League, all finished up. Looking at the next gen that's going to start pretty soon. Recruiting race tomorrow, and you can find that Slingshot Racing or the host Ellis Thomas. Hey, thanks a lot. This has been great. I really appreciate you coming on. I've had a blast. Thank you so much.
You too, Greg. Appreciate it.
All right. Good night. There was Ellis Thomas from Slingshot Racing League. They have the Next Gen Cup Series coming up soon. Recruiting race tomorrow night at Richmond. And just to remind you, Joe Sixpack Racing Happy Hour Truck Series will be at Richmond on Thursday night. As soon as Ellis gets his crew and all the trucks cleared out of there, we'll be plowing in there, taking over the track on Thursday night. That's 8-4. I know it says 8-2 on the screen right here. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Joe Sixpack Racing Happy Hour Truck Series. Thanks a lot, Ellis, for dropping by. It was a great conversation. I love doing this. And these conversations can go on anywhere from 15 minutes to hour and a half. We're in an hour and 33 minutes on this one. Thanks again. And just want to let you know, we'll see you on the track, the Joe Sixpack Racing Happy Hour Truck Series, Richmond Recruiting Race, Thursday, 8/4/22. It's going to be 125 laps, 2 tire changes, 1 quick fix, 1 green-white checker if needed, and no competition cautions. And you can look it up on iRacing. Host name Greg Drace, Draiss, or Joe Sixpack Racing. For more information, please check us out on our Facebook page, Joe Sixpack Racing. We do have a Discord. Discord is for league members. So if you join the league, or we invite you to join, you'll be invited to the Discord, where we'll have it all set up for teams, rules, all kinds of upcoming races like that, practices, etc. Joe Sixpack Podcast is the official voice of Joe Sixpack Racing. We will be back Monday night, I believe, August 8th. And if you want to be on the podcast, send me private message on Facebook or, Facebook, like that. I'm on there. Send it on the Facebook page. Send it on our Joe Sixpack Racing page, Joe Sixpack Podcast page, or my personal page. And tell me what you want to talk about. And remember, it's a conversation, not an interview. This has been the Joe Sixpack Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. You can watch this on Twitch for the next 2 weeks. It will be uploaded to YouTube tonight, and very shortly, audio will be uploaded to Anchor, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, and about 24 other podcast platforms. Thank you very much. Have yourselves a great night.